Let us pray. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, Thou who hast brought us thus far along the way. We give you thanks and praise for this morning. We give you thanks and praise for this gathering where we come together to honor the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., not only as a man, but as a figure for a movement of justice and freedom, a movement that undoubtedly continues. We pray this morning that the fellowship we share with one another might be a foretaste of the blessed community that Martin King fought for, that we might, through our conversation and through our witness with one another, through sharing a meal over these tables, that we might be a symbol of the community of love that he strived to create, that we might be a shining beacon of what's possible when love and not hate reigns supreme. So bless this morning. Bless every speaker, bless every participant, bless every attendee. And we certainly pray that you bless this food that we are about to receive and all of the hands that prepared it. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Hello, good morning. The Community Minority Cultural Center would like to welcome you to the 32nd Annual Dr. Martin Luther King Holiday Observation. It's so wonderful to see friends and family enjoying and festiving and celebrating with us yet another year.
No, you gotta say that all over again.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Good morning. Good morning. Praise be to God. You hear me. I'd like to welcome everyone to the 32nd Annual Martin Luther King Breakfast. I'd like to especially thank the Porthole for supporting us in our venue. You know, we look forward to having this. This is our annual event for the CMCC. Excuse me? Oh, okay. And we really, really appreciate your support. I really want to thank you again from the bottom of my heart. The CMCC appreciates all of you. And I know it's not sunny and warm outside, but let's pretend it is. Inside, it's very warm. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that, Yolanda. For people that don't know, Yolanda Morris is the president of the board of directors for Community Minority Cultural Center. So give Yolanda a hand there. Also, greetings came from Ms. Gail Randall. She's one of the executive board members down at CMCC as well. At this time, we'd like to bring up our newly elected mayor, Thomas McGee, with greetings from the city. Tom McGee.
Thank you, Darrell. It's great to be here this morning. Welcome on this 32nd Martin Luther King breakfast here in Lynn. It's a special day, and I actually have several events, which I think is a good thing because it's not just about meeting here this morning with all of you, many of you who I've had a chance to spend many of these mornings together with over the years, but there's a day of service. There's other things happening that I think really reflect on what this day is all about. Martin Luther King Jr. would have been 89 today. It's his birthday. Imagine that. We always remember him as a young, vibrant, passionate man that really was such a leader for this country. And so we're celebrating his birthday, but just as importantly, we're celebrating what's best about this community and what's best about this country. And I think that reflects on why we're here today. I had a chance last night. I rewatched his I Have a Dream speech, and as I was watching it and seeing the strong words that he had throughout that speech, but you could see as he spoke, he had a written speech, but I think the real importance of that speech, if you get a chance to see it again, was listening to his words as he didn't read the speech anymore. He knew what he wanted to say, and he brought that passion about a better America out so passionately on that day 55 years ago this year. So I want to welcome you all I'm honored to be standing here as your mayor, and I want to thank everyone that helped support me in that campaign last year. But more importantly, as the mayor of this city, I really look towards bringing us together in a crazy political environment that always looks to divide us. We have so much more in common that really reflects on what we are as a community, what we are as a people in this country. And so I'm looking forward, as the mayor of this community, to work with all of you to ensure that we are leaders in recognizing that we're going to show the way on what it means to be a great citizen of this community in this country by coming together, finding what we have in common, and making sure that all of us together share a better tomorrow. Thank you for allowing me to speak, and let's really celebrate a great man by making this a day to celebrate a better America. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Mr. Mayor. We appreciate your support, and we look forward to working with you in the upcoming 4 years. So another hand for Mayor McGee, please. At this time, we'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge some of our elected officials that are here this morning. We're going to start with a delegation from the State House. East Lynn State Rep Dan Cahill, give us a wave. We have Westland State Rep here, Brendan Crichton, who is running for state senator as well. Where's Brendan? Brendan Crichton. All right, Brendan's running for state senator. Our elected city councilors, Councilor at Large, I see Brian Fields here. Brian Fields. Councilor at Large, former president of Local 739, Buzz Barton. I saw Councilor at Large Brian LaPierre. Where's Brian? I did not see Hong Net. Is Hong here? Maybe he hasn't arrived yet. Okay. We have school committee. We have Jared Nicholson. City Council President, Ward 3 Councilor Brian Sear. Darren Sear, excuse me, Darren. We have Ward 7, J. John Walsh. Jay, put your hand up one more time. I'm not sure the people saw you. Ward 7, Jay Walsh. Newly elected Ward 2 City Councilor Rick Starbard. Ward 6 City Councilor Peter Capano. Who am I missing? Am I missing someone else out there? We already said Buzzy Barton. They can't get enough of Buzzy. Buzzy, one more time. Buzzy Barton. There he is. Okay, thank you for that. Also, I'd just like to acknowledge a couple more people here that are in new positions. One would be our keynote speaker. I'm going to acknowledge that, and you'll hear more from her later on. She is the new pastor of Bethel AME Church. Miss Bernadette Hickman Maynard. You'll be hearing more from Pastor Bernadette. Also, we have the new pastor. I think he's in an interim position from St. Stephen's Episcopal Church, Tom Barrington. Tom Barrington. Okay, I think I do have all of our elected officials and people we want to recognize at this point in time. As we move on with the program, I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce you to our interim director at the CMCC, Mr. William Lott.
How you doing, everybody? Thank you for coming out and supporting us on this Martin Luther King Day. It's a little weather's a little on the downside, but I just want to make some acknowledgments to the people who sponsored us in the booklet today. GE Aviation.
RG.
Yeah. Again, Pete Capano, Councilor Ward 6. Outward Bound, Zion Baptist Church. The Bethel African Methodist Episcopal Church. Of course, the Lynn Housing Authority, they're always supportive every year. Building bridges through music, for education. We just, St. Stephen's Church again. Dan Cahill got an ad in the book this year. Brian Lapierre. I'm better than these. Okay, Buzzy Barton. Jim Carrigan, okay. GLSS, they're always supportive every year. Thank you. Greater Lens, Senior Citizen Service. Brendan Crichton for State Senate. Of course, we have the Lynn Community Television station here today. They're supportive this year. Okay. And I just reminded one, James Carrigan, right up front. Sorry. Nicole Bulford. Nicole. And Lynn Police Department, 100 Washington Street. Lynn Community Credit Union.
All right, yeah.
The Essex County Community Organization, ECHO. The Lynn Development Industrial Corporation, EDIC. Lynn Museum has always been a supporter of ours over the years, and Lynn Arts. Local 739, the Firemen's Union. Eaton Drug Store, which is no longer in our building. But Eaton Drug Store is always a good supporter of ours. The Lynn Home for Women on Washington Street. They do good work. Thank you. Local 201. They're always a supporter of us. John's Oil Company. Eastern Bank. Thank you so much. And Solomon's Funeral Homes. Salmini. This is my first time doing this, so pardon me. All right. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy your food now.
All right, thank you, Bill. Thank you for that. It's always important, folks, to acknowledge all of our donors and people that have supported the CMCC over the years, and especially in the present. So we always have to take that time out to say thank you to people that spend their time, their energy, and their influence to try to help further the cause and the mission of the CMCC. So again, we'd like to take this opportunity again. Thank you to all of our donors. Hopefully we didn't miss anyone. And if we did, I'm going to say thank you, and we appreciate you, and we appreciate your continued support. So we're going to move on with the program at this time. It's always important for us at the CMCC to try to be a conduit to people, to try to let the community know what's going on, to let them know what's going on culturally in the city, what's going on politically in the city, and just to be able to reach out and give the people a voice. And there's a lot of different things going on in the city of Lynn that affects each and every one of us. And at this time, we just like to acknowledge, again, a couple of those things that are going on. One of the, what I think is one of the most important things that's going to be going on over the next year is that this year marks the 200th birthday of Frederick Douglass, an abolitionist that actually lived here in the city of Lynn. So we have Wendy Josephs, is going to come up for a few minutes and tell you about all the activities that are going on to acknowledge Frederick Douglass, a black man, an abolitionist that lived right here in the city of Lynn, that forged a way for each and every one of us. We think it's important. Wendy.
Thank you, Darrell. I will not give you all of the information, but you might have seen this going around. So there have been a bunch of people in Lynn that have put this all together. The planning committee consisted of local scholars, writers, social justice warriors, museum educators, and church members. Each of the different organizations will have their own events that you'll see in here, but we're just going to market them together. And one of the events that we're very excited about is Tom Dalton, who was a Salem reporter as well as a reporter for the Item. He wrote this new book, Frederick Douglass, The Lynn Years. I know. And we're taking pre-orders right now. The book is $15. I can take your orders. And that is going to be a lecture and book signing at the Lynn Museum, which you will see in this. So take a look. You can find us on Facebook and come find me and pre-order your Frederick Douglass, The Lynn Years book. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that, Wendy. Also, we'd like to continue with trying to acknowledge the importance of trying to foster some of our young leadership. If you take a look at your program, one of the themes that we came up with for this year's event, we are searching for, developing, and cultivating young leaders for the new millennium. And that's one of the issues that's been plaguing I would say, the African-American community and just communities in general. We're trying to forge into a new millennium, but we don't have enough new, young, motivated people to take over these leadership positions. We have organizations like the CMCC here, and we look at the majority of our board and people that are taking the leadership role in those things, and as young as we like to think that we are, we're not. We're not. And the strength of any organization is its youth, and how you cultivate and develop leaders that come behind you to fill in those positions. So we're looking for young people to do that. In order for us to do that, we have to start from the very beginning by trying to educate and mold young people and get them in the mindset that they understand that being a leader in their community is a very important thing. It has to be important to them. And they can only do that if we show them the way. And part of what we're doing is we're acknowledging a young scholar here, Mr. Arthur Akers from College Application Program, is going to come up and introduce a young man that he's going to give a scholarship through his program that's going to further that mission of cultivating new young leaders. Mr. Arthur Akers.
Greetings. Greetings. Thanks for having us and making room for us in this community. I remember years ago when I was a little tot, a little more than a little tot. You see, I've never been a little tot. Got a bit that. But my mother's been bringing us down here, and I've seen so many politicians and people come and speak, and I've always remember seeing, was it Senator McGee, or come from Little League. He's always been there, all the politicians. It gave me a hope that people really cared about young people doing. But sometimes those situations are waned by the actual activities and actions of our leaders, and they don't do what they say they're going to do. But we want to let our shining stars shine when it's time to shine. We had a scholarship, Robin A. Martin Scholarship, and a young man from our church, Zion Baptist Church, participated along with, and he showed up because he didn't have to show up. It was a $500 scholarship, but when young people show up and do things that are encouraging them, we let that light shine, encourage them to continue doing the things that can make them positive people. Especially in light of the last 3 years, our murder rate has risen 300%. And so we need to reach out to those young people that are trying to do well. The essence of the scholarship award was Robin A. Marlin was a board of director member of college application. And one of the things she did was just cared. She just truly, truly cared. We lost her, and so in several years, scholarship in her name. So I want to bring up the young man who wrote about the 5 colleges that he wanted to attend. There's an idea to get the young people thinking about and writing about and doing the research of the colleges that they want to attend. And he had to pick the colleges, give the particulars of the colleges, answer strenuous questions, so he had to actually do some research. And hopefully through that research, he and the other students that participated will be able to better choose and progress in their college careers. So I want to bring up Justin Fenton. He's our scholarship winner this year. Thank you so very much. Okay. First, I'm gonna give him. I don't know if he's a sports fan. We have a Patriots program. That's one thing I thought about. And also, since the Patriots doing well, NFL hat. Nice hat, NFL on it, signature on it. And I'm not a real bag man, so but I'm trying to find the things here, trying to be more organized. We have a plaque for him too. All right. And the plaque reads, Justin, that College Application Education Project, Robin A. Martin, 2017-2018 Research Award and Scholarship, presented to Mr. Justin Fenton. And a quote says, "One of the important things in life is to show up for life." And you did it. Congratulations. All right. All right. And last but not least, we want to give this, make sure the check is in here. This $500 scholarship for all the research you did and that you have a good start on your college career and professional life. Congratulations. You want to say anything to people?
I just wanted to say thank you, and it's an honor, and I appreciate all of the individuals who are like supporting all of the younger people, because it's hard coming up in this world today with a lot of adversity and a lot of different things pushing us down, but just keep supporting us and we'll keep showing up for you. Thank you.
All right, again, congratulations to Justin and Arthur. Thank you for that scholarship. I'd like to continue on just by acknowledging a few more of our younger people that we look forward to working with in the future. They've shown a great deal of drive and just interest, and we look forward to working with them. The first person I'd like to acknowledge is Miss Ariel Fitzu. She's a young woman that came down to the CMCC. She had recently graduated from college like last year, and she says, "What can I do?" All right? She's looking to help. She's looking to further herself in the community, and she has a background in urban planning. So we look forward to working with Ariel. I saw her. Where is she? She just walked out the door, right? What? I told her I was going to call her. Also, Mr. Andrew Burton, all right, who is his mother was head of Saving Our Souls Foundation at CMCC, and Andrew is continuing on with his mother's legacy. He's at the door. The young man you saw at the door there, he's there helping out every way he can. He's a member of the board of directors at CMCC, Andrew Burton. Also a young person who we're looking for a lot of big things from. She ran for school committee this year. She's one of the top workers for ECHO. Miss Cherish Casey. Where's Cherish? And lastly, I'd like to acknowledge this young lady. I'd like her actually to come up. Yes, Nicole, that's you. Miss Nicole Lane, she has took on the mantle of bringing back Juneteenth to the city of Lynn and letting people know what Juneteenth is all about. It was a great celebration last year. She and her committee took that on, and she's going to tell you a little bit about Juneteenth moving forward. Miss Nicole Lane. Yeah, let's not forget about newly elected school committee member Michael Satterwhite. Did a great job, broke through.
Is he here?
No, but go right ahead.
Good morning, everybody. Is this the right one? We're just trying to continue the celebration of Juneteenth in Lynn. As everybody knows, it's a state holiday that celebrates the freedom of African Americans and African American achievement. And we're going to continue that. We had it last year on June 17th, and it was a moderate success. So we're going to continue it because we need to have a presence in our community. And I feel like that's very important for us to show up, like Mr. Akers was saying. So let's continue to show up. And I love the turnout for this event is huge. And I love seeing all these wonderful people, all these African Americans in our community. So it's very nice to add to that by celebrating Juneteenth this year. So I hope some people can come out. Thank you. It's going to be on the Lynn Common on June 23rd this year on the Lynn Common. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that, Nicole, and all the other young people as well. Again, these are young people looking up to take up a mantle that needs to be carried. We're living in America right now, and it's very different from the one that we all grew up hoping we would live in 2018. Without calling out any names, 45 is out of control. Let's just say that. Some people get it, some people don't. That's all right. Okay, we'll leave it at that. But we need new leaders. We need young leaders. We need people with hope. We need people with compassion for other people. We need people that are going to be uplifting to all. This old saying, all ships rise with the incoming tide. All ships rise. There's enough room here for all of us and all of us to do well. So again, I'd like to thank those young people for trying to move us forward, and we appreciate you and look forward to working with you. At this time, we're going to have a musical selection by Miss Doreen Murray.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Oh, y'all can do better than that. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Woo, now I think I feel a little bit of warm love. So, as another year comes our way and we're here together, I'm looking out the window. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh. They said it was only going to be a few little flurries here and there, but it's not. It's so New England. But it also makes me think, I was sitting in the chair and I was thinking, you know, whew, all the storms that Dr. King endured, he endured them alone. But there were those times, I'm sure, when he was by himself in his secret closet, thinking about the storms that life brings, that just seem to keep on raging and raging with no end. And so I can only imagine that being a minister at church, he must have thought sometimes about, boy, when these storms of life keep raging, I just know without a doubt that there is somebody standing by me. It's not my wife, it's not my children, it's not all the people that are supporting, bringing justice to the forefront, but it's somebody who's ruling the weather. It's somebody who's ruling that water. It's somebody that stands by him, taking care of him. So today, you think about your storms and who's standing by you. Can they rule the water? Can they rule the wind? If they can, then it can only be one person. I don't need to say a word. Now when the storms of life are raging, stand by me. When the storms of life are raging, stand by me. When this like a ship out on that raging sea. See thou who rulest the wind and the waters, Lord, please stand by me. Can I say it again? When the storms of your life are raging, ask him to stand by me. When the storms of life are raging, stand by me. Oh, when the seas feel like they're tossing me, like that old ship on that old angry sea. See thou who rulest the winds and the waters. Oh Lord, please stand by me. He would say, now in the midst of tribulations, Lord, stand by me. In the midst of my tribulations, oh, I need you to stand by me. Now when the host of hell prevail, oh Lord, I feel weak and I begin to fail. You know, in the midst of my faults and failures, stand right here by me. Oh, in the midst of all my faults and failures, stand by me. Oh, Lord, you know all about me. Bring me up and stand right by my side, right by me. Oh Lord, I know you know all about me, because you made me. Come on and stand by me. Let me hear you. Come on. Now in the midst, oh by me, oh Lord, I need you to stand by me.
by me.
All right, thank you for that, Doreen. Thank you very much. Doreen Murray, Miss Virginia Mackers, building bridges through music. At this time, I'd just like to acknowledge a couple more things. Number one is that as I stand before you today, this would not be possible. It would not be possible if it weren't for people that came before me, that gave me an opportunity, that laid the road and a foundation for me to stand upon as the rest of these board members here. And that will be Mr. Abner Darby and Virginia Barton. Abner and Virginia gave their life, blood, sweat, and tears for the CMCC to be successful. Anyone that knows them knows they worked tirelessly. They were there morning, noon, and night. They were underfunded, never had enough resources, went into their own pockets to make it work. They did all those things. And believe me, that is probably the primary reason why I'm standing here right now, because I know they worked that hard for me and many people, my generation, to have something. And I just think it's my turn to give back. So I'd just like to say we'd like to continue to honor their legacy and say thank you again. Thank you, Abner. Thank you, Virginia. We appreciate you. But all their hard work, you know, I think that we're living in very difficult times, and people say we're even regressing. We've gone back. We've lost ground. The civil rights movement is dead. It's on to a new time. Affirmative action is non-existent. Our unemployment for black people is lower, it's twice as everyone else, twice the rate. Right now we're at an all-time low for unemployment, but it's still twice as high for black people as it is for anybody else, so we still have a lot of work to do. But I'd like to say to you today, be encouraged, because we have people who are willing to take up this fight. We know we have a lot of ground to cover, and we've made a great deal of progress. And that progress is sitting here in this room with us today. It's embodied right here in the city of Lynn. We have an African-American fire chief, Stephen Archer, stand up. Stephen Archer, Lynn Fire Department. Bred right here from Lynn. Also, born and bred right here in Lynn, Massachusetts, we have the chief of the MBTA Police Department, Mr. Kenny Green. Stand up, please. Although we have a long way to go, and we have taken some steps backward, you know, with 45. 45 is not helping us, man. So, but rocky is the road, but we keep forging ahead. We can't give up this fight. Can't give up this fight. And I think part of us moving this thing forward, before we bring on Mr. Michael Wheeler, who's gonna bring us another selection here, I'd just like everybody to turn in their programs to like the third page from the back. You'll see a calendar of events for Black History Month. And one of the last events on that particular page There's an event called the African American Leadership Summit. That is going to be a gathering that we've had probably about, last time we did it was maybe 3 years ago. But we determined the African American leadership here in the city of Lynn. We're going to have this summit and determine what our agenda is moving forward in the new millennium, and how can we galvanize black people to strengthen themselves politically and economically, educate our children, and advance our agenda and move forward. Now we're saying, where can we find a collection of black people like this that personify our leadership? First and foremost, historically, when you're looking for black people of conscience and good mind, you start, and your foundation is the church. So we're asking for the pastors of Zion Baptist Church, Bethel AME, Bethlehem Temple, the Community Brotherhood, CMCC, Mount Olive Church of God in Christ. I believe I said Bethlehem Temple. St. Stephen's Church, Sacred Heart, St. Mary's, Washington Street. What? And I saw Reverend Simpson here someplace too. Reverend Simpson, are you here? Yes, he's here. Reverend Simpson, I cannot think of the name of your church, so I apologize, but I know you. Reverend Simpson, what's the name of your church? Help me. Yes. Okay, First Church in Swampscott. We'll take them too. All right. But anyways, there are a number of factions that encompass African American people. I've named off the majority of them, but I did leave out, again, the CMCC is also part of that, along with the NAACP. We need the NAACP now more than ever. But I'm going to take this opportunity right here to let people know what exactly is going on with the North Shore branch of the NAACP. Now, a lot of people think they know, but I'm quite sure most of you don't, so please just hear me out, because I think it's important that we all know this and we all help advance this agenda. The North Shore NAACP people have said that we've lost our chapter. That is not correct. We do have a charter for the NAACP. But what happens is, once your membership falls below 100 members, you are inactive. But you still have a charter. That means you must establish your new leadership, a president, a vice president, a secretary, a treasurer, an executive board. You must go through your training. You must pay all your assessments. And you advance your agenda and you submit that to the New England Area Conference. And therefore, you can move forward and do things in the name of the NAACP. Right now, the NAACP does not have that leadership structure. I've been the president for over 10 years. Ms. Yolanda Morris has been the president for the past 10 years. Like we said, we're looking for new people. We're looking for new people to pick up this mantle. We need new young people to do this. But you have to be committed. You have to do the work. And then you can advance the agenda of the people around you. You can make life better for everyone. But no one at this particular point in time wants to take the commitment it takes to be a leader and help your community. So I'm just going to offer this. Like I said, I've been in that position for a number of years, and I tried to step down and step aside and allow other people to lead. And some people have done that. In having conversations with different people, I'm going to express right now to people, I am willing to take on that leadership position in such time that we have someone committed behind me that will say, after they are trained and they know the way to do things properly as a president or vice president in NAACP, we'd like to just pass that on to them. But I'm not going to do it if no one is willing to step up behind me and say, I'm looking to work and move forward with you. because sometimes things can become stagnant as they become. When you have the same people in leadership positions too long, they don't leave room for other people to grow. So we're encouraging, we're reaching out to young people. If you know someone, when I say young, preferably I'd say someone who's under 40 years old. But if I have an energetic 50, come on, let's go. Let's get it done. It's important that we do that. And it's important that we have an NAACP. Everybody has a particular mission that they should do. The church is saving souls. The CMCC is providing culture and history for people. The Community Brotherhood provides fellowship and civic obligation for the Community Brotherhood. Everyone should stay in their own lane. NAACP is your civil rights organization. If you have a problem with anyone, it could be your housing, it could be discrimination, you need someone to go to, and that's the NAACP. We need that. We need that. So I hope that everyone takes heed to what I'm saying this morning. And if you know of someone, if you feel it yourself, and let me not be discriminatory. I don't care how old you really are. In a perfect world, we'd like to have new young people, but I'm telling you right now, if there's somebody 50, 60, 70, if you think you can do this job, and you have the wherewithal and the drive to do it, and you're willing to lead, we need you. We need you to do this.
Tell people we'll have a sign-up sheet at the front to pay their dues.
Okay, I've just been reminded that we will have a sign-up sheet before you leave here today. That sign-up sheet can be a commitment, but that is fruitless and meaningless if you don't have the financial means to back it up. A membership to the NAACP is simply $30 a year. $30 a year, less than it cost you to come here this morning. All right? And let me just end with this one thing in regard to the NAACP. A lot of people, when we were trying to recruit people to become members of the NAACP, they act like they're joining a club or something. They're saying, what do I get for this? What do you get? And my answer is simply this: after giving a complete history lesson about what the NAACP has done for you already, and you don't even know it, you get the right to become a freedom fighter. That's what you get. You get the opportunity to fight and to lead. That's what you get. It's not a club. It is not a club. So, again, I thank you for your time. At this time, I'm going to bring forth Brother Michael Wheeler. Come on up, Mike.
Amen. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I'm going to do, missed out one church, though, Cathedral of Faith International Ministries, where I'm the pastor of music and worship there. Amen. Praise the Lord, everybody. I'm going to try to do one of Dr. King's favorite songs. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand, I am tired, I am weak, I am worn through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, and lead me home. in my way. Lord, it grows so drear. Oh, precious Lord, linger near when my light is almost gone. Hey, 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 oh, hear my cry. Oh, hear my call. Lord, I need you, I need you, I need you, I need you to hold my hand. Hold my hand. Oh, Lord, lest I fall. Take my hand, precious Lord, and lead me home. When the darkness appears, and the night, oh, it draws so near, and the day is past and gone. And the river, yeah, Lord, I stand. Hey, hey. Oh, God, my feet, Lord. God, my feet, Lord. God, my feet, Lord. And let me stand. Oh, oh, take my hand, oh, precious Lord, and lead, lead me on.
All right. Thank you for that, Mr. Michael Wheeler. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Also, we always want to acknowledge our musicians. Miss Virginia Mackers on keyboard, folks. Miss Virginia Mackers. Thank you again. That brings us to the moment in the hour we've all been waiting for, a message for us to take forth with us on this Dr. Martin Luther King birthday morning. Something to help us reflect a little bit about the legacy of Dr. King and where we are and where we need to go. After the conclusion of me reading the bio of our keynote speaker for this morning, the next voice you will hear will be that of the pastor, Reverend Bernadette Hickman Maynard. Reverend Bernadette Hickman Maynard was raised by her mother, Judith Gilliard, in Los Angeles, California. She traveled to the Boston area to attend college at Harvard University, where she majored in psychology. During her first year in college, she joined the historic Charles Street African Methodist Episcopal Church, where she developed church-based tutoring, mentoring, and youth leadership programs. After graduating with a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology, she attended the Harvard Graduate School of Education. where she attained a master's degree in education, in human development, in psychology, with a concentration in risk and prevention from Harvard Graduate School of Education. She also worked as a consultant for Project Aspire, a Harvard Graduate School of Education literacy-based social development program in Boston Public Schools. While attending Harvard Divinity School, Reverend Bernadette served as an associate pastor to People's AME Church in Chelsea, Mass. After completing her Master's of Divinity, she joined the Charles Street AME Roxbury Renaissance Center to help fulfill its mission to provide social, cultural, educational, and economic services to the communities in Roxbury and beyond. In 2008, Reverend Bernadette joined Bethel AME Church in Lynn, Mass, and served as the minister to women for 4 years before being called to serve in pastoral ministry in Bethel AME Church in Bridgeport, Connecticut in 2012. In 2013, Bishop Gregory G.M. Ingram of the First Episcopal District of the African Methodist Episcopal Church officially appointed her as co-pastor to Bethel AME Church, along with her husband, the Reverend Dr. Theodore Hickman Maynard. She was proud to be one of the first in the First Episcopal District and one of the few in the entire African Methodist Episcopal Church to receive such an appointment. While at Bethel and Bridgeport, Pastor Bernadette worked with people across race, ethnicity, and faith divides in the greater Bridgeport area to build community and advocate for social justice. She was awarded the Jalal Muhammad Humanitarian Award and served on the boards of directors for the Council of Churches of Greater Bridgeport and Connect, congregations organized for a new Connecticut. On June 17, 2017, Bishop Ingram appointed Reverend Bernadette as the pastor of Bethel AME Church in Lynn. She is so proud to return to this congregation and community in this new role. She also currently serves as a community organizer with the Greater Boston Interfaith Organization. Pastor Bernadette and Reverend Teddy share the joy of parenting 4 children, Jeremiah Shirley, Justice Patrick, Zion Nathaniel, and Zenith Isaac Hickman Maynard. It is my pleasure to present to you your keynote speaker for this morning, the pastor of Bethel AME Church in Lynn, Massachusetts, the Reverend Bernadette Hickman Maynard. You want to hit it here or you want to hold?
No, you can put it in.
Okay.
Thank you so much to Daryl Murkison and Yolanda Morris, all of those in the board of CMCC. You know, in the AME Church, we have a long list of people that you're supposed to acknowledge, and people do that, and I know that it was already done earlier. So as we say in the AME Church, protocol having been established, I greet all of you. Everybody in this room is somebody, and I am so grateful and so proud to be here with you all today. Amen? Amen. Amen. If we can just get started, that will be all right. It was March 25th, 1965. And Martin Luther King Jr. was standing on the steps of the Capitol in Montgomery, Alabama. And he and thousands others had just finished marching for 4 days from Selma to Montgomery to draw attention to the evils of segregation, discrimination, and voter disenfranchisement. And it was their 3rd attempt to march. You see, the first time they marched, they were at the Edmund Pettus Bridge
And the state and the local police attacked them with clubs and with tear gas and with dogs. And it was Bloody Sunday, you may remember. And they were driven back to Selma. Second time they marched, it was 2 days later, and their crowd was bigger. But they got to the Edmund Pettus Bridge again, and they were met with a barricade. And they turned back to Selma. And for 2 weeks, there were court attempts to keep them from marching, and there was more violence, and a minister was killed, and finally President Johnson issued an executive order to give the marchers federal protection. And so 12 days after Bloody Sunday, they marched again. They walked 12 miles a day. They slept in the fields at night. And after 4 days of walking 12 miles, they finally made it to Montgomery. And when they got there, they were elated and they were excited to have finally made it. What started out as a march of 600 people on March 9th swelled to 25,000 people in Montgomery on March 25th. They were triumphant and they were exuberant. And they were also tired. They were tired of being beaten, tired of being threatened, tired of being locked out and stepped on. They were tired. After 350 years of slavery and Jim and Jane Crow and segregation, they were tired. And to this crowd, weary with discrimination, dehumanization, and degradation for centuries, to a crowd that had been fighting just as long, who had been struggling just as long, Martin Luther King Jr. looked out at this crowd and said, I know you are asking today, how long will it take? I come to say to you this afternoon, however difficult the moment, however frustrating the hour, it will not be long, because truth pressed to earth will rise again. How long? Not long, because no lie can live forever. How long? Not long, because you still reap what you sow. How long? Not long, because the arm of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. And here we are, almost 53 years after that speech, 53 years after the march from Selma to Montgomery. And in many ways, we've marched forward. And in many ways, we've been beaten back. In 1964, we had the passage of the Civil Rights Act, and black people had greater access to education and housing and some jobs, and discrimination and segregation, at least on the books, became illegal. And many black folk had opportunity for upward mobility. Gradually, there was more freedom to walk on the streets without threats of violence, and overt racism was becoming taboo. We even got a black president not too long ago. So we had made some progress. But just like those marchers in Selma who had made some initial progress toward Montgomery, we have been beaten back by the forces of racism. We have been beaten back by gerrymandering and voter ID laws and a systemic scaling back of the Voting Rights Act. We have been beaten back by a criminal injustice system that incarcerates black men 6 times more than white men and black women 3 times more than white women. We have been beaten back by increasingly segregated schools where access to high quality education remains grossly unequal and the achievement gap is staggering. We have been beaten back literally by police officers who brutalize black male and female bodies with impunity. We have been beaten back by income inequality that is worse now than it was in the 70s, right here in the liberal Northeast, in Boston no less, the home of abolition. We have the city with the highest income inequality in the country. Not in the state, not in the region, but the country. And the poverty that's in Boston, The poverty in this Northeast region is concentrated in communities of color. There are not large populations of poor white folk here. The wealth is concentrated among whites, and the poverty is concentrated amongst people of color. We have been beaten back. And the gains of our first black president have been strategically and are being strategically and systematically beaten back by a man and a political party who made it their mission from day one to negate everything he did. We have been beaten back. And we're tired. And on this Martin Luther King Jr. Day, we ask ourselves, what is the legacy that Dr. King and the civil rights movement have left us here in 2018? We look at all the problems and we get overwhelmed. Because for some of us, our own experiences of injustice, of racism, of discrimination have been overwhelming, and at times we can't breathe under the weight of it all. And then there are some of us in this room who are a bit comfortable, and we look around, though, and are overwhelmed by the magnitude of the problems we see other people experience. And we think it's hopeless. What can we do? What can little old me do? What resources do we have to fight this? What from the past can we use now to fight? What can we draw from? What is the legacy that Dr. King and the civil rights movement left us? The truth is, it's an imperfect legacy, an imperfect legacy. Yes, for certain, Dr. King and the civil rights movement left us powerful legacy, one of courage in the face of injustice. He taught us nonviolent protest as a means to raise awareness. He demonstrated the power of organizing. He led a soaring appeal to the country, to those with privilege, to those with power, to see the humanity in all people. He did leave a tremendous legacy. And yet it is an imperfect one. For it is well known that the civil rights movement privileged men, heterosexual men, and male leadership, often at the expense of women. Women who were not only the backbone and the support, many of them were often the brains and the strategists, the tacticians, and yet they got none of the credit. Women planned the lunch counter sit-ins and the voter registration drives and many of the marches. In fact, many planned the March on Washington. But only the men could march with Dr. King in the procession, and only the men could speak to the crowd. A year before King's I Have a Dream speech, the one in which we know so well, Prathia Hall, a SNCC leader who led a prayer in commemoration of a burned Georgia church, she gave a beautifully poetic prayer against violence, against racism, in which she used the refrain over and over, I have a dream. Dr. King was at that memorial, and then from then on, he began to use the phrase, I have a dream, and the phrase became associated with him. It was Bayard Rustin, a gay man, who taught Dr. King many other leaders about Gandhi's nonviolent protest strategy. Even before Dr. King adopted nonviolence himself, it was Bayard Rustin who helped shape King as the symbol of peace and nonviolence that he is. Yet he was silenced and beaten and repeatedly fired from leadership positions because he was gay. The civil rights movement was an imperfect movement. It was largely organized by black people in service of fighting black-white racism, which is important and necessary. But it also excluded other races and ethnicities, and it often ignored the intersection of sexism and classism and heterosexism. And if we're telling the truth, we know that Dr. King himself was a flawed individual who struggled with infidelity. We know that sexual harassment was widespread among male civil rights leaders. And if we're telling the truth, and King was still alive, it is entirely possible that, like John Conyers and Jesse Jackson, there might have been women telling their Me Too stories about him. The civil rights movement was an imperfect movement. But so was every movement for equality and peace and justice that humanity has ever endeavored to undertake. If we look at the United States, Europeans came to this continent fleeing religious persecution, wanting a better life. They founded a country based on the idea of the equality of people, but they slaughtered some whom they thought were savages and enslaved others they thought were animals. Even democracy, the general way in which we set up our government, it's a system that's supposed to be with the people, for the people, by the people. Fannie Lou Hamer says that she cracked up whenever she heard that because it's really about the handful, for the handful, by the handful. Because that's what really happens. Even capitalism. Capitalism was developed as an alternative to feudalism to give more people a chance at wealth, a chance to produce, a chance to earn a living, to feed their families. And still today, we have wealth concentrated in the hands of a few. No matter the system, no matter the institution, no matter the struggle, we end up with a handful, for the handful, by a handful. And we say that we want equality for all. And we want enough for all. But often what happens is we start by wanting enough for me and mine. And the reality is that all the histories of movements, all of humanity's struggle for equality, they've been limited because all never really meant all. But while every movement has had its limits, and every movement has also expanded and has adapted. And this is true of Dr. King, and it's true of the civil rights movement. For each time the marchers in Selma were beaten back, they came back stronger, with more people joining in, more diverse groups standing hand in hand, walking arm in arm. King started the Poor People's Campaign, where he organized blacks and whites and Asians and Hispanics to march on Washington and fight against poverty. Dr. King took a stand against the Vietnam War, extending his message of peace and speaking out about violence, not just against blacks in America, but against people in other countries. He said, I knew that I could never again raise my voice against the violence of the oppressed in the ghettos without having first spoken clearly to the greatest purveyor of violence in the world today, my very own government. Yeah. Dr. King's legacy lives well beyond his actions in the civil rights movement. He inspired people across the world to continue to press, to not give up in the face of injustice, no matter where it is, whether we need to take the fight to the proverbial them, or even if we need to take the fight to the proverbial us. Because King said injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And so, we can't just look outside of ourselves for the strength to give voice to injustice. We can't just look to our so-called leaders to find the solutions to injustice. We can't look even to the masses who are gathering out there, fighting and marching somewhere to find the will to stand up to injustice. We must look in the mirror. We as individuals must take the baton that King and others have given us and continue in the struggle and the fight for injustice, knowing that those who came before us are not perfect, and knowing that we are not perfect, but we must continue to push and then reflect and then adjust and then push some more and then reflect and then adjust and then push some more. Too often, we look at King and other leaders who are in the spotlight and people we put on a pedestal. And the first thing we do is we look around and we say, we don't have any more kings. Or who's the next king? Where's the next Obama? We need a leader. We need someone out in front. We need someone who can show us the way. And then the second thing we may do is look at ourselves and say, I can't do that. I'm not the one. But guess what? King didn't do it either, not by himself. He was not alone. My daughter, when she was 3.5, her favorite TV show was Super Y. Anybody heard of the PBS series Super Y? This series, it focuses on the adventures of 4 fairy tale friends who transform into reading-powered superheroes. Pig becomes Alpha Pig with alphabet power. And Red Riding Hood becomes Wonder Red with word power. And Princess P becomes Princess Presto with spelling power. And Wyatt, the main character, turns into Super Y with the power to read. And you, the audience, are Super You with the power to help. And together they are the Super Readers. And the Super Readers jump into books. Literally, they jump into books to find answers to everyday preschool challenges. And one particular episode that I like features Princess P. And Princess P's father was too busy to help her tie her skates. And she didn't know what to do. So in order to solve the problem, the group jumps into the story of Rumpelstiltskin. And in this version, the princess wants to have gold jewelry and a gold hat to wear to a party that she needs. So she wants Rumpelstiltskin to turn straw into gold using a spinning wheel. But he is too busy. So she realizes that the only way she is going to get the gold that she wants is if she does it herself. But she doesn't know how to do it. She's never used a spinning wheel. She does not know how to turn the straw into gold, and she doesn't believe that she can. She sits at the spinning wheel and she feels helpless and she starts to cry. Wyatt, now Super Y, comes and says to the princess, "Why are you crying? If you just sit here crying, you will never turn the straw into gold." She says, "I have to cry. It's in the story." See? It says the princess cries. Well, Super Y and the other super readers know that if the princess continues to cry, she's never going to get the gold that she wants. But the princess has to cry because that's the way the story was written. But the super readers have the power to change the story. And so they go through all of these different words to find a word that rhymes with cries. Maybe dries. The princess dries? No, that doesn't work. So then they stumble upon tries. And they like that one. Then they change the word from cries to tries. So instead the story says the princess, instead of saying the princess cries, it says the princess tries. And then once the story was changed, the princess sat down at the spinning wheel and she was able to spin the straw into gold. Many of you don't believe you can overcome injustice because you're following a story somebody else wrote for you. And there are many stories out there. There are many stories out there. There's a story that says white people can never really address the deep, systemic, pervasive problem of racism because they're too afraid to be called racist. There's a story that says that once black people get some access to some money and some power and some privilege, they will no longer work to benefit the masses. There's a story that says that black and brown people can't work together to fight injustice because they're in competition for jobs, and Latinos only care about immigration and black people only care about criminal justice. There's a story that says that out and proud gay people, and that gay people can't be people of faith. There's a story that says in order for a movement to be successful of joining, that it has to start out completely inclusive and strategic, and every that says that in order for you to be allowed, you got to be either perfect or perfectly transformed. just the right education. You got to have just the right background. You got to just have the right stuff to be a leader. I'm not from here. I'm not from Lynn, and I've been here just a short time, but I've heard some story about Lynn and some stories that black folk don't want to step up, and black folk are too tired to do anything, and black folk don't want to lead and fight. But I'm here to tell you that you have the power to change the story. You don't have to follow the script that somebody else wrote for you. You don't have to follow a story with an ending that you think is inevitable. You don't have to follow a story that's been laid out for you, whether the story has been told in textbooks or history books or on the newspapers, or you see it on CNN or MSNBC or Fox News. You have the power to change the story. And we need you. We need each and every one of you to tell your stories. And we need you to listen to the stories of your sisters and your brothers. And when you share stories, then you change the story of fear and division. When you act from a place of empathy, you change the story of apathy and compassion fatigue. And when you fight from a place of solidarity, you change the story of individualism and neglect. The fight against inequality happens not just on the streets of Ferguson or Wall Street or Washington, D.C. The fight against inequality happens in our homes. It happens in our classrooms. It happens in our schools. It happens in our religious institutions. It happens when we see that the fight is against racism and sexism, against homophobia and oppression in all of its forms, no matter whether it takes place in the police stations, in institutions of higher learning, or in our own hearts and minds. Because a threat to injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And still we ask, how long? As long as it takes. How long? As long as it takes for white people to stand with black people, to stand with brown people, and everyone gets the same access to education and health care and a living wage. How long? As long as it takes for straight people to stand with gay people and declare together that the quality of your love is more important than the gender of who you love. How long? As long as it takes for cisgendered people to stand with transgendered people and to listen to their stories and affirm them as full human beings. How long? As long as it takes for fourth-generation immigrants to stand with first-generation immigrants and value them for their contributions and not scapegoat them for the problems they brought upon themselves. How long? How long? As long as it takes. As long as it takes for everyone to experience the reality of the statement, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all people are created equal, and all really means all. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, we thank the Reverend Bernadette Hickman Maynard for that message. We thank you. All right, folks, we're almost there. We're almost there. That was a tremendous message, and I think we all needed that this morning. Before we head out, I'd like to bring to the stage Miss Doreen Murray. She's going to lead us all, right, in the singing of the Black National Anthem. After the singing of the anthem, we're going to ask Reverend Bernadette to send us out with the benediction. Doreen?
Yeah, wait a minute.
Okay. All right, you can find the words to the anthem inside your program book. Look in your program book, the words are in there. Can we all stand for the anthem, please?
Does everyone have it? This isn't a solo.
Together.
Everybody has it. I'm giving you time to find the words. Here we go. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let us resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the presence has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on to victory is won. Second verse, stony. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died. Yet with a steady beat, have not our weary feet come to the place for which our fathers sighed. We have come. Over a way with tears has been watered. We have come, treading the path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out from the gloomy past to the land at last, where the white gleam of a bright star is cast. Here we go. God.
God of our weary tears,
God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thy road was by mine, let us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee. Lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadow beneath thy hand, may we forever stand true to our God, true to our native land.
thank you. Doreen, thank you all. I'm now going to ask Pastor Bernadette to bless us out with the benediction.
Now for the benediction. May the God of love bless you. May the God of peace inspire you. May the God of justice motivate you. And may the God of hope empower you to work and to fight for love and peace and justice, now, henceforth, and forevermore. And all together we agree by saying amen, amen, and amen.